Hello, my name is Luke Panazik, and today we have the privilege of talking to Chris Powell, who's the Associate Director of the PMO at the University of Washington's Continuum College. Chris, thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out. If you could, just to kind of get everybody kind of up to speed, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in terms of managing the PMO.
So I've been in project management for a little over 15 years, both with a prior employer and for the last 3.5 years with Continuum College. I manage kind of the full range of things that you can manage in a PMO. So we have project managers that report to me that manage particular projects within the unit. And so I manage that part. We have a need for us to manage the most strategic projects in IT in our organization. We also kind of create best practices or gather best practices from industry and bring them into the unit and to sort of adapt them to what the unit is trying to do. And finally, we also do some portfolio management, so helping the business understand kind of what the full range of things is that they might want to do and helping them prioritize those.
What do you think some of the business strategies are that you support in Continuum College?
So probably the biggest one of those is the student experience with the university. The unit has decided that it's very important that we personalize the student experience and how they view the university and Continuum College as they move through their programs. And so we see that through the digital experience, obviously, that the student has with us. And so it's the full range of systems that that the student would interact with as they continue through their program. So that's a major focus for us is focusing on that student digital experience. Another key one for us is enabling alternative forms of learning. And so we help develop systems and implement systems that provide different forms of learning for the student to be able to interact with. And that basically provides access for lots of different people who might not be able to come and sit in a classroom in a regular way. And then the final thing that we do in terms of supporting business strategies is we work toward operational efficiency of the unit. So we work to produce systems and even business processes that don't take as much time or as much money as they might currently. And the intent with that is to basically create space, to create an ability for us to go on and do more innovative things with the time instead of just doing the same standard operational processes.
How would you describe the body of work in your portfolio in terms of how it aligns to one of the business strategies?
Well, since I started with the student digital experience as kind of the key or the biggest of the strategies, I would focus on that. And there are a number of different projects that we have that also actually align with some of the other strategies. So if you take a look, for example, at the way our students currently apply and register to programs for Continuum College, there's actually a lot of manual processing that goes on behind the scenes. And so from an operational efficiency perspective, it's less efficient because we're doing work by hand. But it's also impacting the student experience because they're seeing some of our business process kind of show through, and they're like having to mail us paper forms and stuff like that. And so one of the major projects is to create a seamless online integrated system that does application, for example, or registration. And so those are two different projects, and both of them sort of supporting that student digital experience strategy as well as the operational efficiency strategy.
Oh, that's very good. And in terms of probably some metrics around that, just if nothing else, going from a paper registration process to a fully online digital process, or going from a paper registration process to a fully online digital registration process, probably really speeds up kind of the time that it takes.
So yeah, there are especially...
Or I should say actually reduces the time that it takes actually for a student to actually submit the paperwork and for you guys actually to review it. That cycle time would actually
Right, and those are good metrics, metrics that we have captured in the requirements for that. Yet we're not yet even to the build phase of that project, and so we can't say that we've monitored them. But certainly, it's the case that the amount of manual labor that's involved is one of the metrics that we're doing. The amount of delay in the acceptance of their application or the completion of the registration for a program. There's also, we haven't done these kinds of metrics before, but you could go out and survey the students and talk to them about their viewpoint or their experience with our systems and sort of how that impacts how they think of Continuum College. If we were to baseline that measure now and say, what do you think of Continuum College with your paper application form? And they'd go, you're stuck in the 20th century. And if we say, well, if it's a seamless e-commerce experience, just like you have on Amazon, then they go, okay, that's a modern digital user experience, and that would be what I would expect.
And from a quality metric standpoint, that adds a whole nother dimension in addition to traditional scope, time, and cost delivery. So it's a great way to really look beyond the traditional metrics and get into some more user-based metrics in terms of how they're actually accepting the product. That's wonderful. How do you ensure alignments of the work in your portfolio to that it meets one of those three business strategies that we talked about earlier?
So that happens in a couple of different phases. We start out with our project managers and myself as the associate director in ongoing conversations, engagement with each of our business streams. And so we have a marketing team, we have an operations team, we have what you might call a product team that creates academic programs. And so regular meetings with them to just sort of understand where are they trying to go with their business processes right now, where are they trying to go with their business strategy, and then reflecting that back to them, helping them understand how to convert that into systems requirements. And so then I capture all of those that we hear about over time and keep a backlog of those in kind of agile fashion. And then I create a scorecard of all the current work and its relative priority, and I review that with our associate vice provost on a quarterly basis, just to get his feedback on where the projects are and where he thinks they should be from a priority perspective, and to get his sponsorship really in making sure that we're doing the right work. And then periodically he reviews those with the executive council, so the highest level of leadership in the organization, just to make sure that we're in complete alignment with kind of the business when they get together and talk all at once, as opposed to the way I'm doing it, which is kind of business stream by business stream. That's
wonderful. It sounds like you have a lot of different stakeholders that you engage with to really kind of get the requirements in order. They can go into the backlog, they're prioritized, and then from there they're actually reviewed at multiple levels to include sponsors and even executive sponsorship, just to ensure alignment.
Yep,
that's wonderful.
That is the way we do it.
Excellent.